Last week, investigative reporter Mike Perlstein exposed the hidden problems that crippled a city agency and forced the departure of the highly paid official in charge. Well, now Mike has obtained exclusive documents that reveal exactly what pushed former New Orleans Inspector General Derry Harper out the door. Harper contests some of these findings, but he also reveals some deeply personal tragedies that hampered him. Here's the latest in our series, Who's Watching the Watchdog?
Just hours before he left his $200,000 a year position as New Orleans Inspector General, Derry Harper broke his silence, taking issue with the characterization that he was forced to resign due to his absenteeism, lack of engagement, and poor productivity.
I disagree that my poor attendance or my attendance had any impairment or negative impact on the operations of the office.
Yet swipe card attendance records obtained exclusively by Channel 4 show spotty attendance by Harper throughout 2019. The head of the Ethics Review Board, which oversees the office, was blunt about the findings.
It's just I'd never seen anything worse, honestly.
Now our investigation has obtained another exclusive document, the stinging internal report that paved the way for Harper's early departure. This 6-page report summarizes interviews with about a dozen current and former employees under Harper. They were quoted saying, "Harper is out of the office excessively, beginning on day 1, which started in early 2018. Attendance is non-existent. Not uncommon to be out for weeks. He drops off the face of the earth." City officials said that even they had trouble catching up with Harper.
We have called and called, they don't answer. We've emailed.
Harper defended his tenure.
I took leave, or I, worked as hard as I could under the circumstances.
But the employees also questioned Harper's commitment. In the report, they are quoted saying Harper was disengaged, showing almost no leadership, on autopilot, in over his head. The lack of engagement caused, quote, reports to sit on his desk for weeks and months.
Obviously, this was not the right direction or the right leadership for the IG's office.
Channel 4 also found payroll irregularities with Harper's office manager. Records showed that under Harper, the employee held 2 job titles, one with the IG's office and one with the Ethics Review Board, and was paid the combination of both salaries. The situation was corrected one day after we brought the arrangement to the ERB's attention. One person on 2 full-time jobs, 2 full-time salaries. How could that happen?
Well, you're saying something I'll have to go and look into.
This report does cite some positives and some mitigating factors. Employees described Harper as wise and gentlemanly. They also say Harper, quote, inherited a dysfunctional office. Harper agreed that the office was in disarray when he arrived in early 2018.
But because we didn't have senior leadership to supervise the divisions, there was no permanent general counsel. We even lost the interim general counsel at the end of 2018. The office was unable to release several reports.
Harper also conceded his office was hurt by crises like the cyber attack that froze the city's computers, then the pandemic that forced people to work from home.
We've done our job in the midst of the pandemic. We're not first responders, so we're definitely not heroes. We did our job in the midst of the continuing turmoil, internal turmoil. I don't use the word mutiny. The people who remain on this staff are dedicated.
This year, there were other hardships, deeply personal ones, and Derry briefly opened up about them. Harper said he was already struggling with some of his own health issues when his 40-year-old son, David, passed away suddenly in April.
It became apparent to me that in the months since then, both the grief and the stress that is attendant with doing this job well was causing significant physical and mental health problems for me.
A crushing blow for any parent, but doubly so for Harper.
A little over 8 years ago, my son, at the age of 30, Michael Harper, died of a cardiac event.
His office struggling, his job on the line, and his personal tragedy, Harper said he was forced into deep introspection.
Did I have the energy, the health status, and the will to keep on fighting that? And the grief and other pressures I decided, clearly indicated that it was time for me to take better care of myself.
Mike Pearlstein, Eyewitness News.
And with Harper's departure, the office is now being run by an interim inspector general as the board conducts a national search for a replacement. That interim, Ed Michel, has vowed to restore the agency's credibility and productivity.